the source, because this is going to premise the question I'm going to ask next. So I'd like you to also be careful in the answer so that my next question might be favorably answered too. Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much. Please do not deviate from the affidavit. I want everybody to fact check the two of us. There was no, they never mentioned him as the treasurer. They said he was treasurer of Mobile. They never said he was treasurer of any Natokes group. What they said was that he was found to have worked for an organization owned by the people they were investigating, that he worked for that organization, that distribution organization. He worked for them without going into details, without having any proof of it. I'm very careful about the phrase that was used in that affidavit by Kevin Moss, because you see, with a trained eye and the trained eye of a prosecutor, I read every line one by one. I've done this more than 10 years ago and came to the conclusion that Shiwaju had nothing to do with this, because I read this more than 10 years ago. So I read it with a trained eye. So that is the phrase. If a prosecutor is looking for something to nail him, you have to go to that particular paragraph that now links Ashiwaju. After they went all the rigmarole of investigating those two individuals, Nigeria, they now came to the point of Ashiwaju. They said now came to the point that where they now found out that part of the friends, relatives, that's what they use, friends and relatives, who worked for that organization owned by these people was somebody known as Ashiwaju. That is all, Tinubu. That's how they came to that. That's how they came to link him. Normally, they do that as a sweeping investigation. Yeah. Let me explain to you, because as a prosecutor, you do that in a sweeping manner. When you are investigating a crime, anybody linked in terms of transfer of funds to and fro from the person's account to your account, as a standard procedure, they will investigate everybody who paid money into and withdrew money from that account. It's standard procedure. But after all of it, they will now let me then push this here. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, Senior Advocate, let me refer you to Section 137 of the Constitution 1D, subsection 1D, which says that a person under a sentence of imprisonment or fine for any offense involving dishonesty or fraud by whatever name it's called, or for any other offenses imposed on him by any court or tribunal shall not be qualified to contest for the office of the President of Nigeria. In view of the forfeiture and the settlement that Bola Tinubu had in the United States, as a senior advocate of Nigeria, what are the legal implications of that circumstance, considering the Section 137, subsection 1D of the Constitution?
Well, forfeiture is not a fine, I don't want to refer to you again. When I say I'm educating, this is like a class we are having. Well, I don't, for all those who think, for law students everywhere, who think forfeiture is a fine. Fine is a punishment. Fine is a consequence of a conviction. Fine is a consequence of a criminal trial. So fine has nothing to do with forfeiture. Forfeiture is a civil process. It's a complete civil process to say, well, we are not even going into trial at all. The state goes into forfeiture proceedings with individuals just for the purpose of getting their monies. It does not mean you have committed a crime. You may have not fulfilled your obligation as a citizen regarding financial payment, just like tax. You have, at that point, he had not fulfilled his financial obligations regarding the deposits that were made there and the interest on those deposits. And so they said, well, you know what? Out of these 10 accounts, we are going to take our interest. And for them, tax is oil, is their oil. All over Europe and America, don't play with their tax. So they also said, well, we are going to take our tax because you deposited money here, you were taking interest on it, you've not paid tax on those interests. So if you look at paragraph 38, that is the crux of the whole thing. So it is not, that constitution you cited, Shehu, is completely, totally inapplicable. It has nothing to do with forfeiture. It has nothing to do with that. Nothing.
That's your perspective. But let me allow you.
No, that is the law. That is the law. It's not my perspective. That is the law.
That's your argument, and you.
It's the law.
On that. But let me allow you to listen. I mean, you can argue on the position of the law. It depends on the court to be able to see it differently or see it the way you see it. But let me allow you to listen to two lawyers. First is Dele Farotimi, and I'd like you to listen and react to the perspective they have on this Bola Tinubu matter.
The man is an indicted drug money launderer is not an argument, but convicted. No, I don't believe that is the case. There is an indictment and there is money forfeiture based on a no contest plea by Mr. Tinubu himself, but he didn't go as far as a conviction, as far as I can tell. You can't look at this in isolation. And I say you can't look at this in isolation, especially in the light of what the High Court just said, that the man has to come and defend the case in the High Court here, seeking to disqualify him. There are plethora of allegations sufficient to have allowed any right-thinking person to have withdrawn from the race. But the man has persisted. So if we're now dealing with legalese, which is different from morality, if we're dealing with legalese, the reality is that you cannot ask him not to run solely on the basis of an indictment to which he had pleaded no contest. If you're looking at the issue of certificates, forgeries, the issue of a lack of provenance or pedigree, where did the man go to secondary school, primary school, what happened in the first years of his life, like he disappeared, like Jesus disappeared for the first 12 years. Those are valid questions, but they can only relate to morality. They are not issues of legality. It is we as the people who have to decide whether that is a character that we want representing us as a collective, as a people. Is that the Nigerian president? That is the point when because if we pretend not to know, the rest of the world are well aware of what we are fooling ourselves not to see. So it's a function of moral suasion. If people are persuaded that they have no problem with having a person of questionable character as the president, that's their call, really. That's sometimes the ugliness of democracy. But when it comes to the issue of if that is sufficient as a bar, I do not believe it is.
Well, that's Mr. Dele Farotimi. Let me allow you, Mr. Keyamo, to react briefly to what Mr. Farotimi said. There is another view that I would like you to listen to also. Mr. Keyamo.
I wish you brought a more neutral opinion. That's that individual, I think he speaks for the Labour Party, so they are our rivals. But his opinion really, well, he got half of it right to say there's no conviction. But he went off again the rail when he said there was an indictment. There cannot be an indictment if Asiwaju is not a defendant or was not a defendant to that case. I repeat it for the opt-in time. I don't want to sound like a broken record here. Asiwaju was not a party to that case. He was not. He was not a defendant to that case. It was just accounts that were sued, not him. Accounts in his name that were sued. So how could you indict him if there was no account? Then secondly,
how many accounts are we talking about?
10 accounts.
How many accounts are we talking about?
10 accounts in 3 banks. In 3 banks.
In one person's name. How modest?
No, not in one person. Not in one person. They were once linked to his mother.
I just asked you how many accounts belonging here.
He took responsibility for all of them because they were all Tinubu family and all that. His mother was there, his companies were there, his brother was there. He just took responsibility for all of them. And at the end of the day, they now pleaded with him when settling that, please don't come against us if it was found that we wrongly seized your account in the first place. I said, look at paragraph 6, page 2 of the settlement signed by the lawyers. They were appealing to Asiwaju. They were begging him, please don't come against us. Just let us go. Take us and let us go. And so it was him giving them indemnity. Don't forget, it was not the other way around that they were telling him, go and sin no more. No, he was the one telling them, go and sin no more. He was the one. Read it. The documents are there before Nigerians can read.
Just a moment. You're saying forfeiture is not a punishment. But don't you think that it's a penalty? I mean, for you to forfeit, is it not a penalty?
No, penalty is when they take something belonging to you and they say, look, they are imposing a fine or penalty on you. Forfeiture is that, look, this thing we think is our tax. Look at paragraph 38 now. They say it's tax. What belongs to them, they are just taking out, so you can go. They just took what belongs to them.
So I'd like to ask you again, Mr. Keyamo.
Yes.
At this period in time when this case was heard, was this the period at all that Bola Tinubu was in office? Was this period, does it cross into any time that he was in office?
No, it was not.
Okay.
It was not in office.
I'll allow you again to listen to yet another view on this one. You've dismissed that one. Although I don't agree with you on the matter that the forfeiture is in any way. So if it's not a punishment, a penalty, what exactly is it? Is it a praise singing, or what exactly would you describe it? Well, I'll allow you to respond after you listen to Anthony Ehilebo, who is also a lawyer or a member of the PDP.
You know the cause and effect of the particular kind of drug that is mentioned in this case. Heroin is a class A drug. There's almost no comeback from it for addicts. Addicts are usually known to die, and then there's a high death rate amongst users. So we're looking at an offense or perhaps a crime that has devastated and destroyed a lot of lives. I personally think that this is one scandal too many. I mean, there was an attempt by the director of new media, Femi Fani-Kayode, of the Asiwaju Tinubu campaign organization to make a rebuttal. And quite frankly, all anybody needed to do was to go back to his time as a member of the Presidential Campaign Council of the PDP, where he had brought up these same allegations. So it's a lingering one, and it's more poignant now that we now have certified true copies of the court's documents that indicted this man a while back. And it speaks to the character of who would want to be the president of Nigeria. I'm sure we're sticking to facts, so we will not delve into the realm of the causatory exploration that the now very popular Lone Ranger journalist, David Hundeyin, has gone through in terms of trying to even bring it back to Nigeria and show some sort of linkage with known drug dealers in Nigeria.
All right, Mr. Keyamo, as we wrap up now, I'd like you to respond to that. But also, perhaps I should read the meaning of forfeiture. Part of the dictionary meaning of forfeiture is the loss or giving up of something as a penalty for wrongdoing. In the United States, in the dimension of what you have explained tonight is criminal in nature. But let me allow you to, as we wrap up, let me allow you to respond to that, because Nigerians are in the judge of whatever you're saying tonight.
Sure, that's why I said if you bring yourself into the issue, you said you were not bringing yourself, you are expressing your personal opinion. You say you don't agree with me. That's why I said you should take a paper and a biro, because you are talking with a prosecutor of more than a decade.
The meaning
of the best of the best institutions in Nigeria. So that's why I said if you are bringing yourself into the picture, take a paper and a biro, and I will lecture you on this.
Just
now I'll go to answer your question. Let me answer your question. Let me answer your question.
Just a moment.
Because you are interposing your opinion. No, you are interposing your opinion. If you want to interpose your opinion, come and sit down here. You argue with me.
No.
You are not asking questions. You are arguing with me. But you are arguing with me, you are not asking a question.
What the dictionary says is different.
So the dictionary definition is different from legal definition. You see, that's why I said I should lecture you. You cannot read the dictionary definition to legal terms. Those who know legal terms know that the dictionary definition don't apply to legal terms. But let me explain to you, please. Don't bring yourself into the issue. I will lecture you on this. Now, let me be clear about this. Yes, let me be clear about this. What the other person said, the last person said, what the last person said is completely even off the mark. The earlier individual, the earlier person you mentioned, you played his tape, was even making more sense. This one totally went off the rail. He was talking about the effect of heroin and the effect of... What has that got to do with what we are saying about? You are even crossing... He's coming to the conclusion before even reaching the process to get to the conclusion. Who is talking about the type of narcotics or the type of heroin? So I have no response to that last individual. He went totally off the mark. But let me say this clearly, Shehu, that I will repeat it for the opt-in time. And like I said, I apologize for being immodest, but I had to stake my reputation, stake my career, stake my years of experience as a prosecutor, stake all my years in practice. I'm not a property lawyer. I was a practitioner and a prosecutor. And all my records are there to see. And I'm telling you confidently, there is nothing in these documents, nothing in these papers that indict Asiwaju, that brings a criminal charge against him, that even finds a criminal charge against him, that the foundation upon which any plea bargain or any kind of fine was reached. There was nothing like that. It was just a matter of, please, this money in your account, we need to take our tax, take your money and go. And they appealed to him. So please don't bring any, give us guarantee that you will not proceed against us. Give us indemnity. And he gave them indemnity when they gave him his money. That is what this case is all about. It's a storm in a teacup, Shehu. It's a storm, I repeat it for the often time. It's a storm in a teacup. And at the end of the day, Nigerians will know. In fact, this one, Nigerians know that he was being vilified unfairly. He has been accused unfairly, and I'm happy these things came out so that Nigerians will even see it for what it is. He was never a defendant in that case. Read it again. Look at all the papers. Asiwaju was never a defendant. It was the accounts that were attached, not him as a person.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Festus Keyamo, for your time tonight. I mean, I reported you being a lawyer in the courtroom severally in Lagos. I won't be surprised any less for your arguments tonight and the manner of your approach. You are always very, how would I put it now? You're very, very activated lawyer in the courtroom, which you have brought to bear. I mean, this is not about the journalists. It's about you politicians and what you want the people to believe. And so we have given you the opportunity to explain to Nigerians, and they are the judge tonight. Thank you so much, Mr. Keyamo. And Nigerians, you've heard him, and you've heard the side of Bola Tinubu tonight. And that's our show tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. God bless Nigeria.
Be seated. Our dear Chief Host, the Governor of Benue State, and my brother governors, the integrity governors, what
One day, but I get it, Junior. Good quality, they for Junior. Better grab this offer.